Great, that's good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, everyone, good morning to you all. Good morning. Today we are still on the issue of adoption. So,
कितने परसेंट
last
से?
time we were looking at section 11
71% की
and
देर में?
uh, dwelling on section
अरे
11,
हाँ,
we
इतना
were
इतना नहीं यार।
talking about
15 में 3 से
why the
71। तेरे फोन तो
restriction
खराब ना
on
हो
the
गया है?
adoption of the same children if there is a, like in case of a male, if he's
हम्म।
going to adopt, first of all, the son, grandson, great grandson, and it says that they must be
अच्छा
living
अच्छा,
at that time of
समझ
the
गया।
adoption. So if they are alive,
पावर प्लग।
I mean, if they are living, means in the olden days, this rule was also applied quite strictly, which I forgot to mention, because conception time,
हाँ,
if
ये
the
हाँ
child
बिल्कुल हो सकता है
happened to
क्योंकि
be
जो
in the mother's
फादर में ना वो
womb,
भी पावर प्लग है।
it was also considered as if that the
वो
child
पावर
was
प्लग।
living. So, irrespective of the fact that the child was born or not, but if the factor
वो शुरू
of
कर देती
conception
है।
was known and the pregnancy was known, then it was
उल्टा दे
held
रही हूँ
that
मतलब?
this child is this is a living
अच्छा
child.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा।
Because remember, if you're talking about conception, you cannot even determine whether the child is going to be a boy or a girl. But when we talk about the old Hindu law, the old Hindu law, even in terms of if the child is not just
मैं तो
adopted, but
उनको
a
लेट
child
चढ़ाऊँ
was
खाना
at
मैंने
the
अपनी
time of
भाई उधर मैं चढ़वा देंगे
suppose
भारी
a
भारी होते हैं।
partition takes place in the family and the child happens to be in the mother's womb and that factum of pregnancy was known, then when what the father used to do was the father used to set aside a share for that unborn child. Now, if the child is born as a son, then because he is called a co-parsoner and he has equal rights, that is, or equal rights or an interest in the joint family property, the father had to give that share to that born child if it is a son. If it is a female, however, even in the old Hindu law, that the female born child was not given that share, and it would go back to what we call were collateral, or people who were related by blood, maybe the uncles of that child, or maybe father and son if they are there. So generally, now this is something that I'm just briefly mentioning, but under the old Hindu law, the son basically had a very important part to play, and then it was even with respect of property also, he was having these certain rights. So that's how we had stopped in the previous class, and I had asked Rishi if he would like to continue and find out as to what is the story behind the existence of a son, a grandson, and a great grandson. What is the purpose? Does it only have to be with the pious obligation duties that these three generations of uh, male have in that family? Because I think
उसमें
under
बोर्ड बन
Hindu
जाता है
law,
ना।
the son
वो ठीक।
has one duty, grandson also
जिसको
has
बोलते थे
one
पोर्ट
duty, then the great grandson has also another duty with respect to the ancestors. So the relationship is like son to a father, grandson to the grandfather, so on and so forth. Because if these rituals or ceremonies are not performed, the ultimate thing was that it was felt that if the son did not do it or the grandson did not perform this, then there would be eternal hell for the ancestor, and then they would not be in peace, or several things were there under the Hindu law. So I would just request Rishi what he has found out through these three generations of males. Please continue, Rishi. Actually, I was reading about this. So only one thing which I got out of this logic behind this grandson and great grandson was something related to Vididhan in Hinduism. Like Vididhan can be done up to three generations, like great grandson, so that there will be salvation or something like that, or moksha. Sorry, not salvation, moksha to their great grandfather. So one logic I got out of this, like great grandson
अच्छा
can
ठीक है
go
ना।
to a Pinddan
फिर हो गया। हाँ बिल्कुल, डोंट
to
वरी
their
डोंट वरी।
great grandfathers. So this logic can be one of the logic putting for putting these three generations. Only this much I got, ma'am. Otherwise, everything was metaphysical and like philosophical type. But no, one thing I got. perspective actually, because in Hindu law that was very important. Like I said, with respect to adoption also, because in the old Hindu law, the daughter, a female child was also not allowed to be adopted. Only the male was allowed to be adopted. Now, with the act that has gone away, now the act says that irrespective of daughter or child, and then also we are talking about same caste, and within the family if it is possible. But now it can be from outside also, and that's how today with the Juvenile Justice Act also we have a connection talking about what if supposing because under the Juvenile Justice Act, where you have a child who has been abandoned, a child who has been orphaned, then they are kept under rehabilitation, and that rehabilitation process includes that these children, for their welfare, they can be adopted by outsiders or by people who want to adopt them. Now the question can be, supposing under the Juvenile Justice Act, a person, a male Hindu and a male, a Hindu female and a Hindu male are allowed to adopt a child, and they want to adopt a daughter who they already have living at the time of that adoption. Supposing the couples already have a living daughter and they decide to adopt a child under the JJ Act of amended Act of 2008. Now, if they want to do this, what would have been the purpose of this particular clause 2 of section 11, where it says the conditions for validity of adoption says that if you have a daughter living at the time of adoption or a son's daughter living at the time of adoption, then you cannot adopt a daughter. Now, quite frankly, the Juvenile Justice Act is a later enactment. And then when we talk about which law will prevail, supposing they deal with the same subject matter, it has always been decided by the courts that if a new enactment has been brought about and there's a new subject matter, unless and until that new enactment has repealed that particular law, or there is an overriding effect of that particular provision of one particular enactment which deals with that subject, then there is no, the rule or the law is that the new enactment will prevail. So the Juvenile Justice Act being a newer act than the 1956 Act, if a couple decides to adopt somebody under that act, it is clear now that the court has held that such adoptions, even if in spite of the couples already having one daughter, can adopt a child who is also a daughter, because of the very reason that the purpose of the JJ Act, under which act they are planning to make an adoption, is with regards to the welfare of the orphaned or the abandoned child. And also the second thing being that it is not against the special enactment or the special Hindu law of adoptions, because the Hindu law of adoption will, this validity section that we look at, section 11, will be applicable when you are making an adoption under the Hindu law. That is the Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act, because it provides about two people who have to adopt a child, whether it's a son or a daughter. But under the JJ Act, it is all about adoption of an orphan, adoption of an abandoned child. So the court's basic law now that we apply in this is, if you want to adopt under the Juvenile Justice Act and you already have a daughter or a son living at the, a son was not discussed, but a daughter was discussed in the case that we have in our case material. So the daughter was allowed to be adopted, and the court held that since this child is for the welfare of this orphan child, there is no question of not allowing the adoption to take place under the Juvenile Justice Act. Similarly, we have the Central Adoption Agency, Resource Agency, which is responsible for certain guidelines that need to be adopted while adoptions are taking place. Now, please remember that this CARA that we are talking about has implications when we are dealing with, say, let's say, inter-border adoptions. If supposing people are outside, or you are an NRI, and then that's when you are going to register yourself under this particular agency if you're going to adopt somebody from India, irrespective of the religion. So CARA, Juvenile Justice Act, does not deal with personal law religion that you are belonging to. That's why we call them the Hindu law or the Muslim law, for example. That's why we said under this act also, if the child is not a Hindu, then the parents who are proposing that adoption cannot adopt that child if that child is not a Hindu. Supposing the but let's say the parent has converted. Now, if the parent has converted, doesn't mean that their child has also converted. So in that case, that converted parent, is he allowed to give an adoption, give that child in adoption, is also one question. Because remember, even in this also there is a slight variance in the law, because there are some high courts who believe that at the time of adoption, because the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act clearly talks about the person adopting having to be a Hindu. Now, if you are not a Hindu, then the whole purpose of the Adoptions Act of 1956 will lose its whole purpose. So if a Hindu male has adopted, that's why it says, except when conversion takes place, that is when the father having the primary right will lose his right, and then it is the mother who will take his place and who will give the child in adoption. Now, if both have converted, again we have seen in section 9 that it is the guardian who can take the place of the parents if they have converted to a different religion. So certain things are there in the act, and these are how the validity, the conditions, like 21 years, and we have seen the child cannot be above 15 years of age. But I also said that if the child is above, if there are customs or usages prevailing that allows a child above 15 or even a married person to be adopted, for example, because there are certain customs prevailing in Bombay, for example, wherein a married person can also be given an adoption. Now, if that is the case, then in those situations, those cases are protected as a custom, but the burden of proving is on the person who alleges that that is the custom prevailing in that particular state or in that particular community. So, child, yes, I cannot see who's raising your hand. Okay, Hemant.
मैम एक्चुअली आई हैव एन डाउट मैम ये आपने कहा कि जैसे अगर पेरेंट्स दूसरे रिलीजन में कन्वर्ट हो जाते हैं तो चाइल्ड का मतलब रिलीजन चेंज नहीं होगा बट मैम अंडर द हिंदू माइनॉरिटी एंड गार्डियनशिप एक्ट मैम गार्डियन हैव द राइट टू डिटरमाइन द रिलीजन ऑफ चिल्ड्रन मैम
See that under the Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act, if the guardian has been appointed, the guardian will be appointed only for the purpose of taking care of this child because of certain situations that have arisen, because the parents have died. And then that also, the appointment of the guardian could be on the basis of a testament also. Now, there are only two things. Guardian ke paas mein the only power that he has is he can be appointed under a testament if the parents have died and they have left behind a will. Second thing is, if that is not there, then only the court can appoint the guardian. But as far as the Hindu Adoptions Maintenance Act clearly talks about the Hindu law, where is the question of the guardian deciding the religion of the child? You tell me. Because it is being clearly stated that even the guardian himself, he has to be a Hindu. He has to be the one who performs those ceremonies at the time of the taking and the giving of the child also. Delegation of authority is only on the parents. Like the father, even the person who is performing the ceremony has to be a Hindu. Conversion का outcome यही है. Now remember there are certain things, okay? Conversion में ये हुआ है अभी because of what we know as the Freedom of Religion Act, which is an 1850 colonial enactment, and it is also known as the Caste Disabilities Removal Act. Caste Disabilities Removal Act. Now, why I'm mentioning this only is because when we say that there is a conversion in a Hindu family, there are certain repercussions because of that conversion. One thing is, what will happen to the property that he is entitled to, supposing he is a son? Because a son is considered as a legitimate son I'm talking about, a son is considered as a co-parsoner. A son has an equal share with his father in the co-parsonary property or the joint family property. Now, if he converts into another religion, this, even in the Muslim law, that is the same purpose. The English courts, or rather at that time the Britishers had developed this law where they said that even if one person converts to a different religion, his share in his family, in his joint family, gets protected. But if he has now become a Muslim, his heirs, that is his son, his own son, will not be considered a Hindu anymore. The law that will apply to him, however, will be the Muslim law of succession because he has already converted. But as far as his share is concerned, he will be entitled to his share as a Hindu. And he will get that share even if a partition happens in the family because he is protected by this particular act. So there are certain repercussions after he converts, but with respect to his heirs, then what will be the law applicable because he is now a Muslim? In that case, the law that will become applicable to him is not the Hindu law, it will become the Muslim law. And then if the son is now an heir under the Muslim law, then it is the Muslim law, on the basis of the Muslim law, that the property will become divided. So now, Hemant, now you tell me which section of the act tells you that the guardian can choose the religion of the child.
Ma'am, actually, I am talking about the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, in which
Okay, Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act is your, see, even there also, wait, section 6 clause A, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Protects, no, wait, protects a mother, supposing the child is under 5 years of age, when we are talking about custody, right? अब
Yes,
custody के अंदर में the mother has a primary right. If the child is below 5 years, all custodies will be given to the mother. That is one thing that is seen. Now, in the Hindu Adoptions Maintenance Act, this particular provision under 6A is not given protection. If a child is given in adoption before he turns 5 also, the mother is not considered to be the one who has the right to give that child in adoption. Now, मान लो कि 6A में तो it is clearly stated that it is deemed that the child is in the custody of the mother till the time the child crosses 5 years of age. But if the child is under 5 years of age, 5 years and below, then only the mother has the right to that child. But under the Hindu Adoptions Maintenance Act, that provision also does not give any protection to the child who will be given in adoption even before he turns 5. It is not the mother only who has the right to give the child in adoption, irrespective of us knowing that under the Minority and Guardianship Act, it should have been only the mother because custody is held to be in the hands of the mother before till the time that the child is above 5 years of age. So there are the general rules, there are application in both of them. Generally, you are right when you are saying that yes, because who is the guardian at the end of the day? It's your parents, for example. It's only when they are not in the absence of your parents that the guardian gets appointed under this act. And then you have moved very ahead. I think you're attending the other classes also. We are right now in Hindu. We have not yet reached minority and guardianship. We are still in adoption. But it's okay. It's a good question that you have raised. We are going to come to that also. But you're right. There is a provision that under that, because if you are the one, now you have adopted a child under Hindu law, so you cannot even adopt a child who is not a Hindu. But if you're adopting under the other acts, like I told you, for example, and you want to raise that child, now in that case, under the Minority and Guardianship Act, if that child happens to be a Muslim, if that child happens to be of a different religion than you have adopted, then obviously that is the course that we will take. If you are Hindu parents, you will choose for that child. Because I think I gave you examples also, like when we were referring to certain marriages of all our celebrity stars, for example. उन लोगों को शादी कैसे हुआ फिर? मतलब मान लो कि एक बात हुआ था today, just recently also there was a petition in the court, I think in the Delhi High Court only, wherein these two couples,
the girl is 18, and they are both of they are both of marriageable age. They are major in age, and they went and got married. Now the girl is a Muslim and the boy is a Hindu. They got married in a temple as per Hindu rites. Now they have approached the court, and they have approached the court on grounds of, because you might have seen what is happening in our courts these days. We have seen cases of what is her name, that recent the girl who committed suicide, that Muslim female, the Bombay case. Then and not only that, in terms of marriages between different religions, what they are seeking protection from the court, because there are cases that have been brought to the notice of the court, because of which suicides have taken place, deaths have taken place, not honor killing as such, but because of the family not wanting such marriages to take place. Similarly, in this case also, this new recent one that I'm talking about, they come to the court, they are seeking protection of their life and liberty from their families, because they said, we have got married, families are against it, and then we got married under the Hindu law, according to Hindu ceremonies. Now the court says that since the female who is a Muslim has not converted to the Hindu religion, the marriage cannot be held to be a valid marriage, even though they followed the Hindu ceremony as a part of their marriage. But the court said that even if that is the case, since they are both majors, both have crossed the age of majority, they are free to decide, and even the female was free to decide with whom she can live with, and therefore this can be called a live-in relationship, and or a relationship in the nature of a marriage as described under the Domestic Violence Act of 2005. Hence, direction passed by the court was, let the government provide them the protection that they are seeking for, because they are both majors, but the marriage, however, cannot be held to be valid because the female has not converted to Hindu. Therefore, the marriage ceremonies performed by them under the Hindu law cannot be held to be a valid marriage. Why? Because Section 5 clearly says that both the male and the female who are going to get married must be Hindus. If they are not Hindus, then they cannot get married according to the ceremonies that is described as a Hindu ceremony, which is the taking of the 7 steps, generally, which is a general rule, unless and until the state has amended it and they have particular ceremonies that they follow. Look at Section 7, that is what it talks about. So keeping this is a very recent case. I think it came in life law. So in life law, this was discussed by the court. It can be called a live-in relationship because they are both major, but it is not a valid marriage as per the Hindu law, because one of the spouses who was supposed to be a Hindu, because both spouses have to be Hindus, was not fulfilled as a condition. Therefore, it is not a valid marriage. But as far as protection they are seeking is concerned, they can be granted that protection, and the state, it was given an order that the state may follow through that order that they have passed. So, yes. Hemant.
Ma'am, I want to ask that if in the beginning of Hindu Marriage Act, you said that when both the parties are of different religion, let's say one is Hindu and one is Muslim, then it depends on their wish, according to whose customs or tradition they will be married. But how comes the court says that?
Nahi, Rishi.
Then how come the court says that conversion is necessary?
If the marriage is supposed to take place and it is going to be considered as a valid marriage, couples who are Muslims and Hindu can never marry under the Hindu Act. For them to say that they have married under the Hindu law, they can only marry under.
I understood.
Yes.
There is a special marriage act for them.
Yes, special marriage act के अंदर में it will be valid, no problem. So they choosing मतलब कि they cannot, choosing the religion that they will follow. I'm not talking about the marriage ceremony. Okay. So स्पेशल मैरिज के अंदर में it is perfectly valid. They are both different religion. They can do that. That is not an issue. They will
Yes,
marry
yes,
under the
got it.
special marriage act, right?
Yes.
Then,
Understood.
so this is the case. Now, with Heyman.
Ma'am, actually, I have few questions regarding Adoption and Maintenance Act, ma'am. मैम ये क्लियर नहीं हो पाया मेरे लिए कि who will determine the religion of that children, मैम. मैम एक्चुअली यहाँ क्वेश्चन ये है कि अडॉप्शन फैमिली में ही हो रहा है या किसी एनजीओ के थ्रू अडॉप्शन हो रहा है, मैम?
No, under the Hindu Adoption Maintenance Act, family के थ्रू हो रहा है. Forget about
नहीं कोई बच्चा, मैम, फैमिली.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. See, adoption. If you look at section 6, it talks about what are the essential conditions for adoption under this act. And उसमें कहलाते हैं कि who may adopt, who can be given an adoption. ये सारे चीजें हमने पढ़ा है section 7, section 8, section 9, 10 लेके. So where were you at that time? Now it is like this. Both families, whether you are the adopting family or you are the adoptee family, you have to be Hindus. इन दोनों में हिंदू अडॉप्शन मेंटेनेंस एक्ट में दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट. Giving and taking also to be done by the people who are actually performing that adoption, and they will be Hindus because and who is performing the ceremony. Supposing एक valid ceremony नहीं है, general ceremony rule नहीं है for adoption, but the rule is that in the olden days they were following one ceremony that they call Datta Homam ceremony, which is abolished now. They don't follow that, and that was considered to be the final ceremony for adoption to take place. But अभी modern Hindu law में हम वो follow नहीं करता because there was a religious concept of it. Today the only thing that they do is supposing एक custom सा है between families in a particular state. Say Bombay में supposing they feed rice to the child, and then you once you feed the rice to the child, then you hand over the child in adoption, for example. Then that is considered to be giving. You're giving, and the person from the other end is taking the child in your presence. तो ये सारे जो हो रहे हैं, they are all done by Hindu families only.
No, ma'am,
अंदर में.
I think Hemant is asking that it was fine that both the family, giver and the taker, was Hindu during that ceremony. But after adopting that child, what happens if both the parents, those who have adopted, got converted into Muslim? Then what will be the fate of that children? What will be the religion of that children? I think Hemant is asking this.
Actually, this is my first question. Yeah.
The religion that will be followed will be the religion of the parents only. Even because see, adopted child का status is equivalent to a natural born child. Hindu law में this is what you have to understand. It's not like adopt हो गया है कि इसलिए अलग हो गया वो. Because the only ties, all ties of this child. This is what we were going to do today. Effects of adoption के अंदर में यही आ गया है कि all ties connected to the natural family are severed. All ties क्या होता है? All ties related to social, religious, cultural जो भी है वो सारे ties sever हो गया है. For this child, he has no relationship with his family where he is born. He now becomes a part of the adopted family. The only look at this. Look at the slides that I have given you. The only ties that he has is that he can not marry those females who are there in his natural family who were within who are still considered as natural to him. So within suspend all that relationship, within prohibited degrees, he still cannot marry those. That is the only tie he has remaining. Otherwise दूसरे ties जो है, मान लो कि anything with religion, anything with let's say property also. So here this is what we said, because he becomes the child of those parents who have adopted him from the date of the adoption. So he is now entitled to basically everything that belongs to the family. Now, subject to certain conditions. Conditions क्या है? First condition is on marriage. Now, this adopted child cannot enter into any marriage with any person whom he or she could not have married if the child has continued to be in the family of birth. So मान लो कि even if before he was adopted, he could not marry somebody. After he gets adopted also the same rule applies. He still cannot marry those people. His sister, his cousins, whatever, who are supined and who come under prohibited degree. So marriage के हिसाब से now this adopted child, he is an adopted child, but the only tie that remains that binds him is that marriage. On marriage, he cannot marry those people he was not entitled to marry when he was a natural child in that family. Second thing, with respect to property. Property में any property which had vested in the adopted child shall continue to vest in him. So, example, let's say X and Y are two brothers, okay, and then the father gives them property and they inherit property from the father. Up after inheriting that property, the father gives X, his first son or whoever it may be, his son. X and Y are brothers, two sons. Now he has given them both properties. They have both inherited properties. X gets adopted because father gives him in adoption. The property that he has inherited from his father before adoption will continue to vest in him and he will continue to take it into the new family also. Now, if there are, however, मान लो कि there are certain restrictions with respect to that property. Supposing another example. Supposing X was given a property by his maternal grandfather, and the maternal grandfather gifted him a property with a clause that says that because there is a widow in that house. Now a widow is entitled to maintenance under Hindu law. Now after the death of the grandfather of this grandson who is now already adopted in a new family, since a widow is there in the family of his natural birth family, he has a duty to maintain that widow with the property that has been left behind to him by his maternal grandfather. Because restrictions आ जाता है इसमें. Since he has that obligation because he is the only male, and then that comes in also even if you're talking about say in section 17 also it says if there is an agreement to the contrary. Now adoptive parents are allowed to dispose their property irrespective of the adopted child coming into the new family. There is no restriction to them dealing with their property the way they want to deal it with. But मान लो कि एक agreement enter हो गया था at the time of adopting of this child from the family whom they are adopting, and they enter into an agreement that they will not dispose of their property. Now that agreement can be enforceable under section 17 of the Adoption and Maintenance Act as well. So there are three things, the effects of adoption on marriage with the property that the adopted child has already inherited, and thirdly, the adopted child he is not entitled to divest the property that is already vesting in the people in which he is being adopted. Now, this act has made it clear today why all these are here is, I'll tell you the reason why. In the old Hindu law, if there is a widow in the family, before 1956 मान लो ये सारे old Hindu law जो हम कहते हैं, it is before the enactment. Now the widow was not allowed to adopt. Today, because of 1956 only, the widow can adopt, the divorcee can adopt, an unmarried daughter can adopt, even the married female can adopt because of this act. But before 1956, the option of adopting was not available to the widow. And in fact, even if she had adopted under the old Hindu law, the relationship was considered as a relationship that was of the adopted child and the deceased husband. So with the effective date of adoption also under the old Hindu law, whenever an adoption was done by a widow, it was considered that the date of adoption by the doctrine of what they call doctrine of relation back. Through this doctrine, it was deemed that this adopted child was born into this family, or rather brought into that family on the date of the death of the husband. Why this was so was because the son took the place of the deceased husband, and the son was allowed to inherit the property of the deceased husband or have a share in the property of the deceased husband. Today, however, because of the 1956 Act, the widow is allowed to adopt a child in her own right. It is not the only reason why it was considered like this in the olden days was because she had no right of her own, because she had no right to the property also. So she had to adopt. And once she adopted, however, that adoption will rule out as to who will maintain her, and this son becomes that person who is going to take care of her, because she had no right with respect to the property that belonged to her dead husband. She only had a limited right, and the only limited right was she could dwell in that matrimonial home, and she could also be maintained out of the property owned by the family. That was the only right she had. That's why adoption was important there, but then the relationship was such that it was only because of with respect to the property. Now, that is why in 1956 Act, because of so many disputes that arose because of this doctrine of relation back, the adopted person can no longer divest any person of any property or estate that vested in them before the adoption. So, if X, Y, and Z are the mother and two daughters of one person, and on his death they inherit his property, they all get equal shares. X को 1/3 मिला, his daughter, her daughters को 1/3 मिला, तो इन तीनों को 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 शेयर मिल गए हैं इन लोगों को. ना उनके हस्बैंड मर गया और मरने के बाद, गुजरने के बाद, they decide to adopt a son. Now this adopted son, because a widow is adopting this son under the old Hindu law, it would have been deemed as if this son has now taken the place of the father, and the entire property would have gone to him again. But now under the 1956 Act, the property which has already been divided before the death of the husband will not be taken by this adopted son, and he cannot divest them of it after he becomes adopted into this family. मान लो कि after some time, if there is an arrangement and then these females decide to give up their properties in the name of this only son, then that's a different thing. But at the time that the adoption happens, if they already have had their share, now this adopted son has no right whatsoever to come in and take their place, and he cannot divest them of their share that is already in their hands. So this is very clear when you are looking at section 12. These are the effects of adoption. Why it is there is because, again, of the way that it was being dealt with under the old Hindu law. The old Hindu law made it very clear that it was only the sons or the grandson who were entitled to the property. The widow had no such rights. It was again only in 1956 in the Succession Act that if she had certain property which was given to her in lieu of her maintenance, then that converts from a limited interest into an absolute interest, which was known as the widow's share. And then that widow's share, now she could call it her own. But before all of these enactments were there, she had no such right. She only had a limited interest, and as soon as she dies or she remarries, she could not take any part of it, and she just had to leave behind, and it will all go back to what we call where the other male members who were surviving in that family, who were called the surviving co-parceners, her husband's brothers, for example, or if they were nephews, this is something that is another very interesting area which you will study in the Hindu Succession Act, but it has to be discussed a little bit because it has certain angle to the Adoption Act also, because they are looking at a property which the adopted child cannot divest. The adopted child today, however, if a biological parent of the adopted child decides to make a will in favor of his biological child who he has given up in adoption, that is allowed through a will. Although the child might have already been adopted, but he can still do that. He's allowed to do that. Yes?
Ma'am, my phone is going to switch off.
Okay, Manish.
Ma'am,
Hanji.
in section 12 and subsection A, that it is given like a second relationship as far as marriage is considered, that will be continued.
That will be continued.
Will that second relationship enhance? Like I'm saying that when the adopted son is adopted by someone, again that some relations will be there in prohibited degree in the family.
In the family he is adopted, yes, that continues also. There also he cannot marry anyone.
That means a second relationship increased after adoption, right?
Yes, you can say that it increased. From his natural born family also he cannot marry. From the new family also he cannot marry.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
It continues.
मैम
हाँ जी
मैम वो प्रॉपर्टी ट्रांसफर वाला थोड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग हो गया मैम.
कोई नहीं है इसमें. एग्जाम्पल है, हो गया कि उसने इनहेरिट किया, मान लो बिफोर ही गॉट अडॉप्टेड. ओके
मैम स्टार्टिंग से मैम मतलब
बिफोर अडॉप्शन मान लो कि फादर के पास father has two sons, example. Okay, now the father decides to give his property to X and Y. So उनके शेयर पार्टीशन हो गया, शेयर बांट लिया उन्होंने, ठीक है, इन दोनों को शेयर दे दिया, some kind of share उनको दिया, not the entire share probably, but he gives them something. So that's like you're inheriting from your father's property. Now after that inheritance takes place, the father decides to give X, that is one son, in adoption. Now X already has a share from his father in the form of a property or whatever nature it may be. वो जो property उन्होंने inherit किया है from his father, after adoption उसी property को nobody can take it away from him. The father who has given the child in adoption cannot say, oh, I'm giving you in adoption, so अब property भी I'm taking it back from you. He cannot do that. He will take that property into the family where he is being adopted.
मैम एक्चुअली ये नहीं, वो जैसे अपनी मम्मी के माँ के घर से कुछ मिल रहा है वो लेके जा रहा है.
Maternal grandfather.
यस मैम.
If he is a child who has been left behind, and then there's a maternal grandfather has given him a property. अब इस family में example में there is a widow. Now for a son or any male in a joint Hindu family, if there is a widow in that family, it is the duty of that child of that male to maintain that widow. Now मान लो कि after the death of the grandfather, this child is given in adoption, but उसने property inherit किया grandfather से. Now even if he is adopted into the family, he still has every duty and obligation to maintain this widow of the adopted family, because that does not take away the right that he has in the natural born family. इसका duty है to maintain any widow, and उन्होंने, because he got the property, so subject to the provision that he continues to maintain this widow. Widow मान लो कि he could be his own father's wife.
Ma'am, I too have confusion in this property wala clause.
Too much confusion ma'am in this ma'am.
Ma'am, का आवाज नहीं आ रहा शायद, या मेरे में प्रॉब्लम है यार।
नहीं मैम का आवाज ही नहीं आ रहा बिल्कुल, कौन टोटली। मैम का नेट गया, माउस रुक चुका है।
तुषार भाई जरा देखना,
पहले स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो यार तुषार भाई।
भाई तुषार जरा देखिए मैम के साथ क्या हुआ।
Hello, am I still audible? The light just went, so it just came back.
Yes ma'am, you are audible.
No ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, so that is the example where you are talking about the property. Now, because see, in the old law, what happened was, if any male member is no longer there and the widow, मान लो कि widow ने adopt किया है, for example, as soon as the widow adopts, now this child, and she will adopt a son. Now this child who is adopted into the family automatically gets an interest in that joint family because he is a son. So what happens is, जो interest होता है इन लोगों का, males who are in that family, the interest automatically fluctuates. And it was like it became a bone of contention for the other family members who were already, because now you're adopting somebody outside of the family who does not have any connection at all. But then the law was such that you could adopt a child and you were allowed to adopt that child. But the only right that she had under the old law was that she is adopting the child because the child will now have a relation with her deceased husband. Today, however, this doctrine of relation back is no longer applicable. It is not on the basis of this doctrine that the widow is allowed to adopt. The widow can adopt because she has been given the right to adopt under the 1956 Act in her own right. And the date of adoption will not date back to the date of her deceased husband. However, if we are talking about who becomes the adoptive father, in that case, it will be the deceased husband who will be called the adoptive father. And it will be the child will be related to the deceased husband as his adoptive father alone. So ये चीजें हैं हमारे एक्ट में which are effects of adoption. For example, if we talk about section 12, section 13 में we discuss about what is the nature of the adopted mother. Because see, if you are talking about unmarried, for example, if an unmarried woman adopts, she only becomes the adoptive mother, and the child will only have one line of parentage or one line of relations. मतलब कि it will only be the mother's side because he has no father, because this is an unmarried daughter. Now, if this unmarried female goes and marries later on and enters into a relationship and marries, the husband that she has married is not called the adoptive father, he becomes the stepfather. So once adoption takes place, all the relationships with the natural family ends. You create a new relationship in your adopted family. All the grandparents become his grandparents, the nieces, everyone becomes just like a blood relation only. He enters into that family. People he cannot marry are of that subpoena and prohibited degrees same. Similarly, in his natural also, that tie is still the same. He cannot marry those relations there also. So like Rishi says, it gets enhanced, that relationship of who he can marry, he cannot marry. Then as far as all the other cases of property is concerned, no divesting of any property. He cannot claim any share because in the olden days, as soon as he is adopted, he could reopen the partition if a partition had taken place. That was the kind of that was why reasons of dispute arose so much. But in section 12C, clause C states that there will be no divesting of any property, and in addition to this, like I said, 17 has to be read with that because of certain because in adoption there can be no payment is not allowed. If however there is an agreement regarding restriction of divesting of any property, like I said, section 17 allows those restrictions and it can be enforceable as well. And in section 15, if any adoption is a valid adoption, remember this is irrevocable and it cannot be cancelled. So 15 talks about this and it states very clearly that no adoption which has been validly made can be cancelled by the adoptive father or mother or any other person, nor can the adopted child renounce his or her status as such and return to the family of his or her birth. So ये सारे चीजें हैं कि there are certain things that is difficult to prove also later on, but in section 16 there is a presumption if there is a registered document relating to adoption. I think one of you had asked, I think Manish had questioned this, if can it be registered. That's why today there is a proposal for mandatory registration of adoption deeds, because in section 16 it just says if there is a deed and it has been adoption deed and it has been registered, the court will presume that a valid adoption has taken place unless it is rebutted by challenged by another person, and it is the duty, the burden of proving that this is not a valid adoption is on the person who alleges so. So these documents, although the court does not say that it becomes foolproof, it only says it is a corroborative evidence. And it can be seen from other factors, even because supposing it has to be signed. If it is not signed, then it cannot be considered as valid also. So all the details of the registration must be fully made, and the court does presume that the adoption has been made in compliance with the provisions of the Act unless and until it is disproved. So section 16 talks about that. So these are what we call our with respect to what are the effects after adoption, what happens. So kindly go through these clauses. There is one case that we have which we do discuss. Yes, Ravinder?
Yes, ma'am. I was asking that in case of surrogacy, we have to follow these Hindu Marriage Act or not?
See, if it is a valid surrogacy, because even the surrogacy bill अभी भी जो finalize होने वाली है, वो भी that is also still there. There are several loopholes with respect to surrogacy, but yes, if surrogacy does take place and if it is under those valid conditions of surrogacy, then what it is not, surrogacy is not an adoption, right? So surrogacy is because the contract itself, it is a contract, it is an agreement, it is a contract between the intended parents and the surrogate. So this act will not be applicable because surrogacy is not adoption. Right. So I will take your attendances and then go through your clauses. We will finish it off tomorrow and then we will move on. Kajal 428, Rahul Agarwal, okay, Kumar Ashish,
Yes, ma'am.
Shivara,
Present, ma'am. Shivara.
Priya Rajesh Singh, present ma'am, Priyanshu,
Present, ma'am.
Chandan Kumar,
रुक जा ना
Ujjwal Gaur,
हट जा
Yes, ma'am. Present.
Prakash Raju,
Yes, ma'am. Present.
Atul Goswami.
Ma'am, have you marked mine, Swati Kasana?
I haven't called out your name, Swati.
Sorry, ma'am, I
Priyal
got
Gupta.
disconnected.
It's okay. Priyal Gupta.
Present, ma'am.
Tushar.
Present, ma'am.
Anmol.
जल्दी ले जा
Present, ma'am.
Preet. Swati.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Sarthak.
Present, ma'am. Sarthak.
Tarun.
यस मैन तरुण